Thanks for helping out with feedback. Let's get started with lecture. Last week we built our first front end application, right? And we talked about full stack applications. We talked about it just now. Full stack application just has a client and a server, right? Let's refresh our memories. Why do we need a full stack application? What benefit does a full stack application do for us? What features does it do that we can't get away with just client side code? Sadiq, what does a full stack application enable for us as the developer?
User interaction, storing and retrieval of data.
Yeah, user interactions, but specifically them being able to post content. So, what's some examples of this content, Sadiq? What's some user interactions?
YouTube videos, Instagram posts,
Yeah,
etc.
upload videos,
Yeah.
make posts, likes, comments, tweets. Yeah, all that stuff is only possible from a full stack application. So we built our front end. That's good. And now we have to learn how to build our back end. So what is a server? Let's all this week is going to be about building a server, right? So what is that? Semsi, what is a server?
Somebody else's computer is the funny answer. Um, but it's basically a computer or a software that provides services to other computers, and these are known as clients, and these happen over a network.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like the broadest definition of a server. But when we say server in this course, what we really are talking about is about an HTTP web server. Even further than that, we're talking about like a JSON REST API server, CRUD server. So a computer or app that listens for requests and responds. So we have our server here. And it can receive all these different requests, right? And we talked about what some potential clients are. And what are those potential clients again, Ritu? What are all these different potential clients for our server?
So we have the web browser,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have the iOS applications, the terminal.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
exactly
remember.
right. Yeah, that's great. So this is kind of a strange idea, right? The client sends one request and the server responds once. And that's like a complete cycle. I don't know if cycle is the best word, but that's like the whole transaction, which is weird to think about. So it's not like a connection that's ongoing. You ask for one thing and the server responds with a single thing, right? So today we're going to pretend that we're building the backend server for Twitter. So, what are some potential requests from clients that we can expect uh, if we're a backend developer at Twitter? Ellery, what's some possible requests we can expect from clients?
Okay, so to post something.
Yeah.
Oh,
So a post request. So if a client wants to create a new tweet, what's a likely, if we're following like REST naming conventions, what is a possible endpoint they would hit for our server?
me. Okay. So it's create. So It's a post request.
Post
Sorry.
request, but they can hit any path. So it could be, please create tweet. Or it could be new tweet, right? But if we're following REST naming conventions, what would be a likely path they would hit to create a new tweet? Oh, we can open it to the class too. Any guesses here? What would be the most likely path?
They have to log in, so they have to make a login, right?
Oh, that's a whole other request.
Post ID.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be like API /post or something like that?
No, what I'm getting at is that the most likely naming convention, and who knows what Twitter's actually doing, but if we were following just like very simple REST, it'd be /tweets. Or maybe something like /API/tweets. But yeah. Because you can name the path anything you want. This could be foo or new tweet or anything, but what people agree upon, what the standard is, like, just call it tweets. So this is potentially to create a new tweet, right? But let's start simpler. What about to just retrieve all the tweets? What would be a likely path for that?
Get.
Yeah, get at what path?
Tweets.
Yeah, /tweets. How about getting a single tweet? What would be the likely path?
Get tweet ID.
Yeah, get tweets, and then here it would be the tweet ID. Yeah. What's some other things we can do to a tweet, Mehdi?
We can update.
Yeah. So in the language of
post.
HTTP?
No, okay. Delete. We delete
Okay, sure. We can delete. And what would a likely path be for that?
/tweet/id.
Yeah, exactly.
Tweet ID. Okay.
And then Mehdi said update. So Mehdi, what HTTP verb would be
Show you
update?
Maxwell. I don't think you get.
What?
So to update, we use put.
Yeah, put. And the likely path, Mehdi?
Tweet and ID to update.
Yeah. So when I say tweet ID here, what I mean is like this would be like, 345 or whatever. Maybe it's simpler to show that. So we as the backend developer today, let's build a server, so a running application that listens for requests from anyone online and will respond to these requests, right? How do I make these requests though? Like, how can I send a request to a server to get tweets? How can I send a request? Yeah.
You need an async function to fetch it.
Yeah. I mean, if we were writing a front end project, we would use fetch. If in a front end project, we would use fetch. Yep. But that's hard to build a whole front end. We don't have a Twitter front end we've built. What if we don't want to build the whole front end? Is there an easier way to emulate sending requests?
Prisma.
Yeah, we're going to use Thunder Client, but same idea. So here, Thunder Client, we can just do a new request. And when I run this server, it's going to be running on localhost 3000. And then how can I send a GET request to tweets? Pimpa, what do you think? What should the path here be to get tweets?
Tweet.
Yeah, it's just going to be /tweets. And here I can choose the request, but by default it's GET. And then I click send and I don't get any response because we haven't built a server, right? So our objective now is to actually build this server to respond to these requests. Questions on that? Okay. So how do we start building a server, right? Actually, there's one request I want to do too. I want to do a get request to slash, which just responds with some JSON saying, success, true, and message, Twitter server is up or something. Yeah. So this will be my first request I want to respond to. So using Next.JS, the new app router, how can we respond to a GET request at just slash? Anyone? Okay, so in app folder, we create a new folder, and by custom, we're going to call this API, put all our API backend routes in API folder. And then in API, we have a file called route.js to create a backend route. And here, so we're working on this first one, right? This GET request. So the syntax is going to be to export a function called GET, and then we can respond however we want by returning a response and using the JSON method. And here I'm going to say success true and message welcome to the Twitter server. And that's it. We have our first, backend route. How do I test this route now? How can I make sure this is working? Victor?
You put it in the get request in Thunder client?
Yeah. So I can go here to Thunder client, and the path is just slash a get request. Oh, and I have some kind of error. I forgot 3000 here. And I still have an error. What's my other error, Victor?
You didn't put anything after the slash, so it's just loading in basic stuff.
Yeah, and I need to put what?
API.
Yep. Yeah.
The API.
Yeah. And there we go. Welcome to the Twitter server. And then this won't be applicable right now, but what I always encourage you guys to do is to imagine a client is trying to break your server, and what could they do to try to break it? Well, they could send a request that doesn't exist, right? But Next.js already has programmed for us a 404 not found. So that's okay. So that first one's good. How about this second one? How can I get started working on this second one? So I want to respond to requests from clients to get tweets. Daniel, how can I start working on that?
Can you still do it in your route file?
No, I have to, using Next.js, I have to use another pattern to make this happen.
I am not sure. Does it have to be like get.js in the API folder?
Yeah, so it's folder routing. So within API, I need a new folder called tweets. And then here, I need a new file called route.js. And now we can respond with, the GET request. So I'm going to return that next response, JSON method, success, true. But now here's a problem. Why? Why is this a problem, Daniel? How can I respond with tweets?
You need to put the path somewhere. I'm not sure.
I don't have any tweets, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to create some fake ones. So in source, I'm going to create a new folder called lib and create a new file called tweets.js. And I'm going to export some tweets. And they're just going to have an ID and a tweet. Twitter, React, tweets. Twitter. See if we can get some actual slash. I wanted to do this without signing in. I wanted to get some actual Twitter, React.js tweets. Here we go. Here's a few. Okay, so the message on this first one is add tweets to your React app. Second one is build a Twitter clone. And the third one is, Twitter clone with React.js. Oops, I forgot the message key here. All right, so now that I have this fake, so tomorrow we're going to use Prisma for a real database, but for today, this will be our fake database, right? So now that we have this fake database, how can I just send these tweets here? Daniel? Now that we have that fake database, how can I just send those tweets right here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry.
So this is just a module. This variable exists in a different, this array exists in a different module. So we can just import it using auto import. Oh, never mind. Tweets. Oh yeah, here we go. So we can auto import it and then just call it here, tweets. So now if we send this request on Thunder client, this GET request, we have to do /tweets and we see success true and tweets with an array of our fake tweets. Any questions on that?
So if I want something to come after tweets, do I need to create a folder inside tweets and put it there?
So the question is if you need like to respond to this kind of request. Yeah, that's the next thing we'll do right now. So we want, get tweets is done, right? But to respond to this request, does anyone have from the pre-work, did anyone get what you're supposed to do?
So if you're trying to get ID, I think it would be a dynamic folder of sorts with square brackets.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So what the problem is, this 34 is not always going to be a 34, right? So we need some way to tell Next.js that this is dynamic. And to do that, we create a new folder and surround it in square brackets. Or not surround it, but name it with square brackets. And here, we can call this this is a variable name. You can call it whatever you want, but tweet ID makes sense to me. And now within here, we need another route.js. And maybe I'll copy this one. And now Farhan, how does this need to change to respond to a request for a single tweet?
I think we somehow need to pass it as props. I think it was we destructure the tweet ID in the parameters.
Yeah. So for free, we get a request and a response. And in the response exists that dynamic part, that dynamic path that we named. So here, just to show you, let's make a request to this path. So we'll do tweet /1. And if you look at the console.log, we see an object with tweet ID because that's what we called the dynamic part. And it has the value of 1. So that's how you access what's in the square brackets. Response.params right there. So now we can use destructuring to grab the tweet ID, right, from the response params. And now what do we want to send our client? So they're requesting a single tweet. What do we want to send them, Farhan?
So we want to send them the tweet with that specific ID.
Yeah.
So I think we would use like tweets.tweet ID. Is that what it was?
So tweets is what data type?
Object.
No.
Oh, array?
Yeah. So we want to find one object within this array. So now this is just a matter of JavaScript, right? But how can we do that? Find one object in an array.
Dot filter.
Which one?
Tweets dot filter.
Yeah, we can do tweets.filter. And then we need a callback function, right? And then what logic were you thinking in here, Sadiq?
If the ID matches the same as the tweet ID.
Yeah, tweet ID is equal to tweet ID. So let's console.log this and see what we get. So I'm going to send this request in Thunder client. You know what? Maybe I'll move this over to here so I can see both at the same time. We'll see how this works. So here I'll do Thunder client. I'm sending the request. What do we see? We see an empty array, right? In the console here. So this logic didn't work for us for some reason. Does anyone know why? And the question to you is, what data type is tweet ID and what data type is tweet ID?
One is a
Do you
string
have
and
to
one.
do a number?
Yeah, so what can I do?
You could probably put a plus on
Yeah.
either that or on the const is usually where I do it.
So I send a request and now I have an array of one thing, the tweet I want. So I can say const tweet equals what? How do I get just that first item from the array?
Index 0.
Yeah. And now instead of tweets, I want to respond with what?
Tweet.
Yep. So now I send this request and look at that. Success true, tweet with the object. So what I need you guys to always think about is when you have a server and you're receiving, so the server I built, guess how many requests you guys sent to me over the weekend for spammer?
5,000.
Okay. Anyone else?
It's like 10,000.
Okay.
I don't know, a lot.
10,000. That's a lot, right? Anyone else? You guys sent millions of requests. You must have hit like infinite loops or something, but you killed my server, right? Vercel wants me to like pay all this money, which I didn't do yet. So who knows if it's still working. But anyway, so yeah, you must have hit like all these infinite loops. So when you guys are just 16 people, right? Imagine a server that millions of people are using. Imagine how many requests you're getting. So they're going to break it in every conceivable way. That's just a fact, right? So with that being said, what's a way? Well, a GET request is really hard to screw up, right? But there is one way I can think of where a client, not even really screw up, but what can a client send that could be a problem here?
An ID that doesn't exist.
An ID that doesn't exist. So we don't have 100, right? So predictions. What is going to happen when I click send?
Error 404.
Well, nothing here I see that could generate that.
Empty curly bracket.
Yeah, it's just empty tweet, I think. Oh no, look at that. So it didn't even send because tweet is because tweet is undefined. It actually just didn't even add it here, which is just a property of JavaScript. That's pretty interesting. Is this a good response?
No.
No. What would be a better response?
Have some if statement.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. Success false. Message, it doesn't exist, right? So what kind of if statement can we use to cover that situation?
If tweet equals to empty array, we can change the value on tweet.
Well, tweet right now is actually, what is it going to be equal to? Like if I console.log tweet, what is it equal to right now?
The ID.
Undefined maybe.
What'd you say, Calypso? The ID?
The ID.
No, not the ID. No. What is this line returning?
Nothing.
Undefined.
Undefined.
Yeah. So using that, what kind of if statement can we do?
If not tweet.
Yeah. If not tweet, then how do I modify this return statement?
For.
And maybe a message, no tweet with that ID found. So this is something I really care about, like this kind of error handling. I don't even know if it's really called error handling, but this kind of thoroughness in your servers, something I really care about moving forward in the course. So now when you send this request, much nicer response, right? For the front end developer, no tweet with that ID found. And then always the question should be, can we break this in any other way? Does anyone think of any way else the client could break our server?
Is special characters different from numbers?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good guess. Who knows? I don't think so. I think that'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're good there. Get requests are pretty easy, right? Okay, so what was next?
Hey Max,
Yeah.
can you so that response.params, where can you explain again where it's pulling that number from? Is it just gonna be like where is it reading the params from? Like,
Oh, the params are because we use square brackets in the folder naming here.
so when you do the request, how is it referring to the number after the slash, I guess is the question.
Well,
Like
it's
when you do a
stored. So
request
the
on-
number is being stored in a variable called tweet ID.
But in this case, is it always looking? I guess the question is it looking towards what's after tweets? Like, is that how it's? So it goes to tweets and then / after that, it's defining the number as a tweet ID.
Hold on. Why did I just break this? What am I doing? A get request to tweets.
It should be response.
Respond.
Oh,
Line
sorry. Yeah, you guys are right. So Daniel, this is what response params looks like. Just an object with this key and value. And the key name is because we use square brackets here. And the value is whatever number we put here. Any other questions on that? The dynamic part? It's probably
I have a different question, just a few things to take note of.
Yeah.
One is you name every file route.js. The other is you name the function capital GET get. Is that something that we always have to do if we're doing like a get method, post method, so on and so forth?
This is definitely the standard, but as far as if it'll accept lowercase, I don't know, but we can see. So here tweets 1. Oh, no. So it has to be uppercase, yeah.
Okay,
And it
so
has to be get.
sorry, go ahead, Farhan.
So I just want to say, so it has to be get if we want to get, I guess.
Well, yeah,
Like, we
it
have
has
to
to be
name it
get
get.
if you want to respond to get. But if we're eventually going to want to do other things, post, delete, put. So you'll see those as well. But this logic will just fire if it receives a get request at this path.
So the path is dictated by your folders then, right? So it's going to
Yeah.
look in tweets, and then it's going to look at the tweet ID because that's the next path down. Let's say you had a folder called users instead. You would go to like your path would require you to go to the users folder, which you would have to create at the very kind of top, and then like user ID, like this using the same kind of like order like you're doing now, like API tweets, tweet ID, like a user route would require API users and then user ID, kind of like how you have right now.
Yeah. So what if I wanted a path to respond to API Daniel, right? How would I do that, Daniel?
So create a folder at the top called Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you need route.js. And now we need to export function get next response .json hi, right? So now we have a Daniel route. Yeah, so it's called folder based routing, which is really nice. Any other questions on this one?
These are all server side as well.
Oh yeah, this is entirely server. There's nothing, literally nothing to do with client that we're talking about right now. Well, not presumably, there is no client application at all. There's no front end. We didn't build anything Twitter related in this entire course, right? There's no front end. Okay, so what's next for us? So we want to do a post for tweets. So now you guys are getting the formula a little bit. Where can I start working on my to respond to a request to post at tweets? Where can I start writing code?
In the API folder?
In my API folder, correct. And then where?
In tweets.
And then in tweets, correct. And then I have to find the route.js within tweets. And now I have to make a new what?
A new function that does post instead of get.
Yeah, exactly. This one's pretty well, this one's not actually. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying. This one will require a few steps. So let's get back Thunder client. And let's go ahead and hit this request right away just to test it, right? Even though it's just going to send us tweets right now, that's fine. How can I modify Thunder client to hit this post request? Vanessa?
You change the request to post in Thunder client.
And what path?
It's tweet.
Yeah, tweets. Yep. So it's working, right? But it's not doing what we want. We want to add a new tweet to our fake database. So what does a tweet need? What does a tweet need to create a new tweet? What do we need from the user?
ID message.
We don't need ID. We can assume we'll do that, but we need a message from the user. Whoops. So the user has to send us a message, and they have to do it in the body using JSON. So in Thunder Client, we can emulate this with Next.JS 14 was just released. Right? That's their tweet. So they send this to us. How can I access what they sent? How can I access the JSON they sent in the body of their request? Let's say I want to console.log it here. How can I see this in the code here?
Is it part of the params? Sorry, the request response?
Yes, it's going to be part of the request and response that we get for free. But where? This is tricky.
Would it request params?
Yeah, so request.json is how we get it. And we have to await this because it returns a promise. So we'll call this what? Body. And then let's console.log this. And we're getting an error because we're using await. So we need to change this to be an async function. So I hit this request now. And look, I can see the body of what the client sent in their request. And now from the body, what can I do to grab the message?
Body of 0. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just going to destructure the message because the message is the only property I care about from body. So now we have the message. So now, how do we add? Well, let's first work on creating the new tweet, right? So what does the tweet need? It needs the message, which we have. And what else does it need?
ID.
ID. So what should the ID be?
Whatever the next number is, 4.
Tweets dot length plus.
Yeah, to be kind of cheeky or whatever, we can just do tweets.length plus 1. Or even tweets.length, I guess plus 1. And now, how can I add this tweet to my fake database?
Dot push.
Yeah, we can do tweets.push. What are we pushing?
Message.
No, not message.
Tweet.
Yeah. And we will respond with tweets. Does that look good or not?
If we're already pushing, do we still need to put it in the response?
Well, you tell me. You're a client. You send a request to your Twitter backend team as the front end developer. You have no communication with them. You say, add this tweet to the database, and they respond. What do you want to see that proves that they did what you wanted?
Either the whole array or just the tweet.
Yeah, it would honestly be just the new tweet that was created. But in this example, we'll just respond with the whole array. Yeah. But come to think of it, it probably would just be the one new tweet, which we could do. But anyway, we have it set up this way, so let's just do that. So we send this request with this new message, and look at that. We have a new tweet that was added to our fake database. What do you guys predict if I click send again?
It's going to create the message, but it's going to be ID 5, I think.
Yeah, except I just screwed it up because I pressed save again, so it refreshed the memory. So here, well, now if I click it again, ID 5 message. Yeah. And this is why we need a real database, right? Because our fake database right now is just floating in memory. So when the computer turns off, it just goes away. Questions on any of that?
Is next response the thing that we want to use when we want to return a response? Like that's the default, or
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know if the built-in response object has JSON. No. Honestly, it's a little confusing that you get request and response here and you use them in different purposes. And then you also get like this ultra next response. It's honestly a confusing syntax. But that's what it is. Okay. So now what do we do after a successful request? What do we try to do as good developers, backend developers?
Try to break it.
Yeah. How can we break it, Ketsurin?
So, no body.
Yeah. That's a good one. So no body. I delete the body here. Ooh. Our server crashed, right? Bad situation. And no response. So this line generated an error. And instead of our server, our whole application crashing, what we can do is we can wrap this in what's called a try catch. And if one of these lines of codes generates an error in this try block, the catch is activated. So here we can return a response that says success false, because if we're in this block of code, that means something errored out here. And then here, what's a good message? Well, actually, the best message is when the error is activated, we get an error object that's generated, and it has a property of message. So it'll tell us what went wrong. So now if I try to do this request again, it says unexpected end of JSON input. So that was the error message that was generated here. It would be better if we could just say, hey, you need to provide JSON with your request. But I'm honestly not sure how to, I'm not sure if there's a way to check if there's JSON here without generating the error. I think it's built to kind of generate the error if it's empty, which is weird.
would it have a null value that we can check?
No, but it doesn't, right? It just generates an error. Because this, like if I console.log message, it's not going to, this line won't run because when an error is generated in your code, it skips. It doesn't run the rest of the code. So here, unfortunately, message is nothing. It doesn't get read because the error is generated here. Maybe there's a request.json property, not a method. No. Anyway, and not the worst case in the world. And when you see this message, your front end developer will be smart enough to realize like, oh, something's off with my body or my JSON. So that's fine. Great. That's one way, a great way the client screwed up. What's another way you can think of, Mehdi?
Actually, don't know.
Yeah. Pimpa, any other way you can think of as the client screwing up this request? Pimpa? Oh, yeah.
No message?
What's that?
There is no message in the body?
Yeah, that's a good one, right? So proper JSON, but no message property. Any prediction what will happen there?
Won't you get like the empty thing like last time?
Yeah, I
Where it
think we'll
says
just get an
success, but
empty
nothing comes
tweet that's
back?
created. But we'll see, right? So no message, and look at that. That's bad though, right? So what do we want to do probably here? What logic? Or actually, sorry, what do we want to do here?
You're gonna put it if else.
Yeah, if not what?
If not, message.
Yeah. And how should I modify this response?
The false, and then tell them that they need to include a message.
Yeah. Okay, so we try that again, right? And much better response from our server. I think you guys kind of get the idea now, right? So I don't think there's any real value in going further. We didn't cover delete or put, but there's nothing new there, right? This is the pattern. So with that being said, any final questions?
Max, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you download ThunderClient on your VS Code?
Yeah, just extensions tab, and then you can search for ThunderClient. And it'll be the result with, it doesn't show me here, but it'll have like millions of downloads, right?
Is it the same as Postman? Like, is there any difference?
No, it's a different application. Postman you have to pay for, I believe. I haven't used it in a while, so don't quote me on that. I'd prefer, if you guys don't mind, to all use ThunderClient, unless you have a reason. Like for one student last cohort, it actually didn't work, weirdly, and I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, please, let's all just use ThunderClient unless you have a reason not to. It's just very easy and it's free and right here.
Hey Max, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you go back to your project again? So because the put and delete, I'm assuming is gonna also require a tweet ID to be able to make those changes. We can just use the current tweet ID route, right? And then just include the put and delete route here.
Exactly. So to start working on your put request, you would just change this to put and then do whatever logic you need to do.
Okay.
Hi Max, I have a question as well.
Yeah.
So in this case, what we get for free is response and request. I'm guessing response is only needed when we use a get, and request is for everything else.
No. Every request from a client, you give a response. So there's always a request and a response in this life cycle. The whole big picture is that a request comes in, you do what you need to do on the server, and you send a response, and that's it. That's your whole like relationship with that client. Yeah.
Thank you.
And they can send you a million other requests and they have nothing to do with each other. Like you have no memory of them, which is called this idea of stateless. Yeah. Okay. I'll get the rooms going. All right.